Knowing what Anthony Joshua is a specialist at, he's a specialist at putting knuckles through your brain, and that's what he's going to try to do to Jake Paul. And anything other than that, from a 34-year-old Anthony Joshua, will make us all think it's a fixed fight. Whether or not Joshua can do it, whether or not, Jake Paul shocks the world and shows us that he really does know how to box really well and moves really good and uses his jab and blows us all away with a strategy and a lot of footwork and movement and brings Usyk into his camp, or Lomachenko's dad, even better, who's the guy who trained Usyk. He trained Usyk as well. Lomachenko's father. That's why they both are the best moving fighters in this generation by far. By far. They're in a group of the greatest of all time, like Willie Pep and Pernell Whitaker. There's like a group of like defensive wizards that exist today they're in that group. And two of them that exist in that group are trained by the same guy, Lomachenko and Usyk.
I don't want to be Jake Paul. That's what I
yeah,
that. I do not want to be.
And if you are Jake Paul, shit just got even more real. So AJ's taking it that serious. He's now training with the Usyk camp, not just for your fight, but for fights going forward. This isn't AJ saying, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna train myself, just get in shape and maybe just train with my amateur coach. This is AJ saying, no, we're gonna train with Usyk's team. And I'm basically meaning, or I'm saying, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. You want me to get down to 245 pounds? No problem. We've done that before, and that was one of my best performances before. Obviously, I'm talking about AJ versus Usyk too. So, I still can't believe it's happening, but it is happening. It will do incredible numbers. I've said that I think it will do numbers as big as Canelo Crawford. Some people have laughed at that. Don't laugh. Honestly, because Canelo Crawford over here, it would have been a small, minute percentage of people that would have watched it on Netflix over here. AJ fighting over here, everyone's watching it.
I consider Jake now, I wouldn't consider him like a YouTube fighter no more. I feel like he put in the time. He gotten better throughout like all his fights. Like he done got better throughout all those fights, But it's still like when you fighting like fighters who actually like done it for like their whole life, it's a little different. If that fight happened, it'll be a good money fight. It'll be a good money fight. But that's a tough task for, Jake going to get that big ass heavyweight AJ. I know AJ personally, so that's a tough task, and that motherfucker could punch.
Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul has the whole fight world talking, and the experts didn't hold back with their predictions. Before the fight even gets close, UFC voices are already breaking down what they think will happen. Some see size and power winning the night. Others think timing and confidence might flip everything. Here's what they predicted.
I suppose you kind of have to credit Jake's balls.
If he gets in, I'll give him all the credit in the world. You're a maniac, you've got a death wish. What more do you want me to say? He hasn't got in yet. He didn't even get against Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis would have knocked him out had he had 10-ounce gloves on. But it is what it is.
Joe Rogan looked at this matchup and straight up said it's one of the wildest ideas he's ever seen. He talked about how Jake just fought a much older Mike Tyson in what looked more like a light session, and now he's jumping into a ring with a guy like Anthony Joshua, who is known for hurting people with real heavyweight power. Rogan made it clear that this jump in levels is huge for Jake. Rogan brought up how Joshua faced Usyk twice, faced Andy Ruiz twice, and has been in deep waters with dangerous fighters. To him, Jake is stepping into a totally different universe when he steps in with somebody like Joshua.
What do you think about Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua?
Boy. Well, realistically, it's one of the craziest propositions of all time. You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the heavyweight division. Maybe we should watch the Francis Ngannou fight so you could see. Let's watch that real quick, just so you can see what Anthony Joshua is capable if he's fighting someone that's not in his league. Okay, look, Usyk beat him, and he beat him twice, and Andy Ruiz caught him in the first fight and dropped him and stopped him. It was spectacular. Andy Ruiz is super fucking talented. Usyk is perhaps the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. maybe one of the greatest of all time in any weight class.
Rogan also focused a lot on Joshua's size and power. He mentioned that Jake might come in around 199 pounds, while Joshua comes in around 250 and knows exactly how to use his height and reach. Rogan made it simple. If Jake gets hit clean by Joshua, it's going to be a real problem because this isn't someone cautious like Usyk. Joshua would throw full power at Jake.
Back that up again. Watch this. I mean, just steps into it with every ounce of his body. Perfect right hand. So the fact that Jake Paul wants to fight that guy, hey, I'll watch. I'm going to watch. I'm definitely going to watch. So you got me there. And if you want to show you're legit by taking on one of the scariest fucking heavyweights alive.
Can you get the tail of the tape of Paul and Joshua?
I was gonna say they got him to weigh agree to 245. That's only like 7 pounds less.
Yeah, that's nothing. And there's some sort of a rehydration clause. Listen, kids, it ain't gonna matter.
Ade Oladipo said the size difference is real, and Jake is walking into something completely different here. Ade pointed out that AJ is still a huge heavyweight, still dangerous, and still sharp when he takes things seriously. And he made it clear that AJ is taking this fight very seriously, which is bad news for Jake. Ade said AJ wasn't playing around at the press conference. He sounded like someone preparing for a real top opponent, not a YouTuber. And AD sees that as a big sign that this fight will be tough for Jake from the opening second.
I've kind of marked it or titled it David versus Goliath just because of the size difference. Like, Jake Paul's a big guy. He is. He's 6'1", 220, probably fights around, the 200-pound mark. AJ is an enormous guy. Like, he's a big unit. And I think Jake realized that when they came face to face. I don't know if that's the first time they've ever come that close. I'm sure they've met behind the scenes. But I think there was a realization from Jake Paul, like, fuck, this is a big dude. It's a very, very big dude who isn't coming to play. Like, there was no play with AJ. That was a press conference that almost sounded like AJ versus someone in the top 10, where AJ's taking it seriously. He's answering the questions direct that Ariel's throwing him. There was no, yeah, we're here to kind of fuck around. This is going to be easy. Give me my money. Let me run back to the UK. This was AJ's like, no, we're taking this seriously. And that ain't a good thing for Jake.
When he got to the actual prediction, he didn't hold back. Ade said AJ should finish Jake in 1 round. Not might, not maybe, but should. And if AJ doesn't get it done early, then Ade said it raises questions about what AJ is doing in there. That's how strongly he feels about AJ winning quickly.
Versus Jake Paul. So, yeah, I'm intrigued as to how it looks in the first 20 seconds. And then I'll be able to just make my mind up as to how long this goes, but I will still stand firm and say AJ should, not will, should get rid of Jake Paul in 1 round. Should. And if he doesn't, then I don't know what that means.
Chael Sonnen kept repeating that if Jake pulled out, he would have nobody to answer to because Jake is the promoter of his own fight. That is why Chael thinks the idea of Jake withdrawing is possible. In his view, Jake controls the whole event and can walk away if the matchup feels too risky.
There's always the new fan, and there's a piece of the psychology, which is always talking about themselves. If they ever, hey, well, you think this guy would take this fight? It's only on a week's notice. Whatever that answer is, they're telling you what they would do. Do you think this guy would fight this guy? No way. He'd get his ass kicked. So they're telling you about themselves. They're letting you know that they would not take a fight that they didn't know that they were going to win. When the person says, mark my words, Jake Paul will pull out of this fight, he might even do it the day of. Pull out of the fight to who? It's his fight.
When Chael talked about Joshua's part in this fight, he said that Joshua saying he was going to hurt Jake was the only thing that made the fight feel real. For Chael, anything less would make the whole matchup look fake. This added to his belief that Jake might pull out because Joshua is clearly coming in to cause damage. Chael stressed that Joshua has beaten top names, dropped Francis multiple times in minutes, and has a history of fighting elite opponents. He kept using these examples to show how big the gap is between Jake and Joshua. That huge difference is a big reason he does not think Jake will actually fight him.
Whom does he inform? Now, Joshua came out, he did something very, very wise, even within its simplicity. And Joshua said, I'm going to break his face. Now, I get where that just seems like a simple thing to say. But anything less than I'm going to break his face does start to feel like a work. You have an Olympic champion. You have a gentleman that beat Klitschko. You have a gentleman which, however the story got there, Tyson Fury didn't fight. Now, I'm not saying that Tyson's the one that backed down. I'm not saying he's not. Fury and Joshua should have fought for over 15 years. Joshua is still fighting. He's still collecting checks. He's still collecting championships. That fight never happened. I mean, this is one hell of a guy to call. Francis Ngannou.
Frank Martin kept it real when he discussed Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. He said he doesn't look at Jake as a YouTuber anymore because Jake has clearly put in the work and improved in every fight. However, he also pointed out that there's a significant difference between someone who has started boxing a few years ago and someone who has been doing it their whole life. Martin said the fight would definitely bring in huge money, but the actual matchup would be a very tough task for Jake. Going up against a heavyweight like AJ, whom he personally knows and respects, is a different level. He made it clear that AJ's size, experience, and power make this a fight Jake would really struggle with.
I consider Jake now, I wouldn't consider him like a YouTube fighter no more. I feel like he put in the time. He gotten better throughout like all his fights. Like he done got better throughout all those fights, But it's still like when you fighting like fighters who actually like done it for like their whole life, it's a little different. If that fight happened, it'll be a good money fight. It'll be a good money fight. But that's a tough task for, Jake going to get that big ass heavyweight AJ. I know AJ personally, so that's a tough task, and that motherfucker could punch.
Tony Bellew thinks the fight between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul is extremely unlikely to happen unless both are fully committed. He keeps stressing that you cannot believe it will happen just because of press conferences or social media posts. Bellew points out that Jake Paul was originally meant to fight someone much smaller, so jumping straight to AJ is a massive step up. He says if it does happen, Anthony Joshua will completely control how the fight goes because he is the professional heavyweight. Bellew highlights that the size, experience, and skill difference is enormous, and he cannot see Jake lasting long if AJ wants to dominate.
I don't believe a single thing until literally I see them in a ring together. He was supposed to fight Gervonta Davis, wasn't he? Who's 5 stone lighter and is it 5 stone lighter and 8 inches shorter. So I don't believe anything. Until they're in a ring together, I don't believe nothing.
Obviously, AJ was meant to fight in an 8-rounder. I think Eddie said to me earlier against
an 8-rounder.
Yeah, okay. Against a top 120 opponent on BoxRec that none of us would have heard of. Okay. Just a kind of confidence, go and get a knockout type victory. I suppose you can go and do that against Jake Paul and earn an absolute fortune from
Listen, I've said before and I'll say it again. Boxing is a brutal business. Go and make as much as you can, as quick as you can. Once you've achieved your dream and goals of becoming a world champion, there's nothing left to do besides make money. What are you chasing? You've won all the belts. I think he's missing a WBC. I think that's about it.
Bellew admires the guts it would take for Jake Paul to even step in the ring with AJ. He calls it almost a death wish because the difference in experience, strength, and skills is so high. He explains that if it happens, people will watch because it is insane, almost like clickbait, but Anthony Joshua, as the professional, will ultimately control the outcome. Bellew makes it clear that even if Jake is confident, he is stepping into a completely different league and AJ will decide how the fight plays out. He believes this fight is fascinating to watch, but almost impossible to believe will happen unless everything aligns perfectly.
I don't believe it. I don't believe a single thing until I see him in the ring. I don't believe any. Even if they come together for a press, I don't believe it. I don't genuinely believe he will climb into a boxing ring with 10-ounce gloves on with Anthony Joshua. It won't happen. It can't.
Hypothetically, if it does, how long does it last?
As long as Josh wants it to. Simple as that. As long as he wants it to. The same way it did with Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. The same way it did with Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou. The professional fighter, the professional boxer will have the say of how long it goes. I could judge how long it's going to go. If I fought him, and I'm a past a 42-year-old man, never mind, probably the best conditioned heavyweight the heavyweight division's ever seen, the best athletic specimen the heavyweight division's ever seen. He's had it, but I don't believe it, Latin.
Experts keep talking about how seriously Anthony Joshua is taking this fight, and they always bring up his move to start training with Usyk's team. Joshua said he left London because it was too distracting, so he shifted his entire camp to Spain to focus better. Working with Team Usyk pushed him in new ways, and he said the whole setup showed him how a top heavyweight camp really operates. For Joshua, it wasn't just about being near Usyk, but learning from the whole team and the level they train at.
Being trained by Ben Davison, Lee Wiley, will Ben be in your corner on the 19th of December?
So no, I won't be trained by Ben Davison. I said that London's a bit distracting for me. So I was invited to train with Team Usyk. So I've been in Spain, we've been doing some good training out in Spain, and I think he's one of the best in the world. Not I think, he is one of the best in the world, and it's not all down to him, it's also down to his team that's around him. So I linked up with them, and getting an insight to how someone who's achieved so much, it's been phenomenal, man. It's been a great experience and it's very challenging.
He also explained that his head trainer for this camp is Eagle, and they've been working together for a couple of months. Joshua made it clear he isn't trying to copy Usyk, but he's trying to understand the mindset and small details that make elite fighters successful. Even though Usyk isn't sparring with him, Joshua said the environment alone teaches him things he couldn't get anywhere else. This camp is about discipline, improvement, and picking up the kind of habits that matter on fight night.
Wow, I did not know that. So who will be your head trainer on the night?
Eagle.
Okay, and how long have you been with them?
A couple months now.
Couple months?
Yeah.
In the darkness, in secret?
No, it's not a secret.
Are you sparring with Usyk?
No, I don't spar with Usyk. Usyk's,
When Jake Paul was asked about Joshua training with Usyk's team, he said it made sense and showed respect for the move. Jake said he knows training with one of the best heavyweights in the world is impressive, but he also reminded everyone that he's preparing just as hard. He talked about wanting to bring his best version into the fight and believes the matchup will show who handled their camp better. His confidence and Joshua's focus have created even more excitement around the fight. It's a huge challenge, full of money, hype, and risks. Experts and fans are already buzzing, and it's hard not to be curious about how it would all go down. One thing is clear, when it does happen, AJ will have the power to control the fight, and Jake will need guts like never before. What do you guys think? Could Jake pull off a miracle, or is AJ just too strong, experienced, and smart in the ring? Let us know in the comments below. We want to hear your thoughts.